The war on the planet Varnock had finally ended, but the land still smelled of smoke and dust. Cold winds blew over the burnt ground. All around were broken machines, metal parts, and bodies of both human and alien soldiers. Silence had returned. But it was not peaceful, it was the silence of destruction. In the middle of this ruined land, under the shadow of a fallen warship, a young Virulon girl named Arinya lay still. Her body was wounded, her skin pale blue and marked with burns. Her right leg was broken, and her breathing was weak. Her silver eyes were open, but she could not move. She watched the gray sky as clouds passed slowly above her. Her people had left her behind. The Virulons were not known for kindness. If a soldier was too injured to walk, they were considered useless. Arinya had heard the words of her captain before he left. She cannot continue. We move without her. Odd and just. Like that, they had gone without even a goodbye. Arinya did not cry. Her kind were trained not to show pain. But deep in her heart, she felt fear. Not fear of death, but of dying alone, forgotten in a cold world far from home, far away from the battlefield. On the edge of the forest, a young human named Tom was walking through the wreckage. He wore a heavy brown coat and carried a small pack. He wasn't a soldier anymore. The war had ended, and now he was just a scavenger, searching for metal parts, broken tools, and anything useful he could sell. Tom didn't like war. He had joined to help build, not to destroy. As an engineer, he had fixed machines, not fired guns. But when the fighting started, he had no choice. After the war, he chose to live far from cities, in a small wooden cabin deep in the trees. Came to the battlefield only for supplies. As he walked over a cracked hill, he stopped. Something moved near the broken warship. He raised his small scanner. No signal, not a machine. Then he saw her. Lying half hidden in the shadows was an alien figure. Her body was covered in blood and ash, but her eyes were still open. Tom froze. She was Virulon, the enemy. But she was hurt. She could not even lift her head. She looked more like a child. Then a soldier, her silver eyes met his. She didn't beg. She didn't speak. She simply stared at him, waiting maybe for help, or maybe for the end. Tom stepped closer, carefully. He kept his hands where she could see them. Hey, he said. Softly, can you hear me? Arinya blinked once. Tom knelt beside her. He could see now her leg was broken, her arm burned, and her skin had turned a faint gray from blood loss. She was barely alive. He looked around. No one in sight. No patrols, no drones. He could walk away and no one would know. But he didn't. Tom opened his coat and gently wrapped it around her. Arinya flinched in surprise. No one had touched her like that, carefully, kindly. Not since she was a child. Let's get you out of here, he whispered. It took time. He lifted her slowly, trying not to hurt her. She was light, like a bundle of dry branches. She didn't speak, but her eyes stayed open. Watching him with quiet confusion, Tom carried her through the cold fields and into the forest. The trees were tall and dark, but they gave shelter from the wind. After nearly 2 hours of walking, he reached his cabin, a small wooden house with a metal roof. Surrounded by old machines and firewood, he pushed open the door with his foot and brought her inside. The room was warm. A small fire burned in the stove. A table stood near the window, and a bed rested in the corner. He laid her down gently on the bed, placing a soft blanket over her. Her skin was cold, almost freezing. Tom worked quickly. He brought water, cleaned her wounds, and made a small mix of herbs and pain medicine. Arinya closed her eyes but stayed. Awake, she didn't stop him. He gave her a warm drink, just a little. Don't worry, he said quietly. You're safe now. I don't care where you're from. You need help. That's all. That night, Tom sat beside her. He didn't ask questions. He just watched the fire and checked her breathing. Arinya didn't understand this human. He was supposed to hate her. Her people had fought his. Yet he had carried her through the forest, given her his coat, and shared his bed so she could rest. Why? She didn't know, but for the first time in many days she felt warm, and she did not feel alone. The soft light of morning crept through the window of Tom's wooden cabin. Birds chirped in the trees outside. Inside, the fire had gone out, but the room was still warm. On the bed, under a thick blanket, the virulent girl named Arinya opened her eyes slowly. At first, she did not remember where she was. The ceiling above her was made of old wood. The air smelled like earth, firewood, and tea. Then it came back to her, the battlefield, the pain, the human who had carried her. She turned her head and winced. Her arm was bandaged. Her leg was in a brace. Her burns had been cleaned. It didn't feel like a prison. It felt like a home. Across the room, Tom stood near the small kitchen table, boiling water in a metal pot. He looked tired but calm. When he heard movement, he turned and smiled gently. "You're awake," he said, walking over. "It's good. You were burning with fever last night. I was worried." Arinya didn't reply. She watched him silently. Her training told her to be alert, to expect danger, but her instincts said something different. This man wasn't acting like an enemy. "I'm Tom," he said, pointing to himself. "Tom." He spoke slowly, not sure how much virulence could understand human standard. Arinya blinked and spoke for the first time. Her voice was soft and rough. "Arinya." Tom nodded. "Arinya. That's a nice name." She studied his face. He had short, brown hair, tired eyes, and a kind smile. He looked ordinary, not like the cruel soldiers her people warned her about. "Where am I?" she asked. "My cabin," Tom answered, "in the northern forest. No one comes here. You're safe. Why did you help me?" Arenya's voice was more steady now. She didn't sound weak, only confused. Tom paused. Yeah, that was a good question. He had asked himself the same thing last night. "I don't know," he said honestly. "You were hurt, left behind, couldn't walk away." Arinya looked down. "My team. They said I was slowing them down." Tom nodded slowly. "War turns everyone cold." He went back to the table and poured hot water into 2 cups, added some herbs, and handed 1 cup to her. She took it with both hands. The warmth felt good on her skin. They sat in silence for a while. It wasn't uncomfortable, just quiet. Tom broke the silence. "I used to fix machines for the army. I was never a fighter. After the war, I didn't want to stay around people who only talked about battles and medals. So I came here." Arinya listened carefully. She had never heard a human speak so openly. "My job was to follow orders," she said quietly. "I never thought about anything else, until now." Tom looked at her. "Do you feel pain?" Arinya nodded. "Yes, but not just from wounds." "Know what you mean," Tom said. "Losing people. Being left behind. I felt that too." The fire crackled softly in the background. Outside, snow began to fall lightly over the trees. The scene was peaceful. It's almost like another world far away from the war and fear they both had known. That afternoon, Tom checked her bandages again. Her burns were healing well. Her leg would take more time, but she was strong. "You'll need rest," he said, gently adjusting her leg brace. "And food? You've lost weight." Arinya gave a small smile. It was the first time she had smiled since the war began. "You sound like a healer." "I'm not," he laughed. "But I know how to take care of things people too, I guess." Later, Tom made soup from dried vegetables and mushrooms. Arinya ate slowly, but she finished every bite. She felt something warm in her chest, not just from the food, but from the way he looked at her. Not with fear, not with hate, just kindness. That night, as Tom prepared a bedroll near the fireplace, Arinya spoke again. "You saved me." Tom looked up. "I didn't do much. You did more than my own people." He didn't know what to say, so he just nodded and smiled. Arinya looked around the cabin. It was small but full of life. Books lined a shelf. Tools were neatly hung on the wall. There was a clock that ticked softly, and a window that showed the quiet forest outside. She whispered, "This place. It feels different." "It's not much," Tom said, "but it's peaceful." Arinya closed her eyes. "Peace. I never knew what that felt like." Tom turned down the lamp and laid on his bedroll. "Maybe now you will." For the first time in many nights, Arinya slept deeply. No cold wind, no explosions, no shouting. Just silence on the soft rhythm of a human breathing nearby. The days in the forest passed slowly. Snow covered the trees like white blankets, and smoke rose gently from Tom's chimney. Inside the cabin, the fire kept the cold away. And Arenya was beginning to feel like she was not just a wounded soldier, but a person again. Tom took care of her every day, checked her wounds, changed the bandages, cooked simple food, and made sure she stayed warm. Arenya no longer looked at him with fear or confusion. Instead, she watched him with quiet curiosity. He never asked for anything. He never spoke harshly. He simply helped her. One morning, as he brought her a bowl of hot soup, she spoke softly, "Why are you still helping me?" Tom sat beside her bed and gave a small smile. "Because you need help. And because maybe I need someone to help." To Arenya looked down. Her hands were thinner now, her blue skin healing slowly. "We were enemies. You don't even know me." "I know enough," Tom said. "I know you didn't deserve to be left behind. I know you didn't try to hurt me, and I know you're not just a soldier." Arenya was quiet for a long time. Then she looked at him and asked, "Do you hate my kind?" Tom shook his head. "No, I hate the war. I hate what it did to people. But I don't hate you." Arenya stared into the fire. The flames danced, casting soft light on her face. "My people always said humans were cruel, unkind, but you are not like that." Tom shrugged. "Not all humans are the same. Just like not all virulins are the same." That afternoon, Arenya asked to sit up. With Tom's help, she moved from the bed to a wooden chair near the window. Outside, the snow had stopped falling and the sun peeked through the clouds. She looked at the forest. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Tom smiled. "I built this cabin to be away from everything. I wanted quiet. I didn't know I'd end up sharing it with a virulent guest." "I didn't know I would live to see trees again," Arenya replied. For the next few days, they talked more. Arenya told him little stories about her home planet, how the skies were purple at night, how her mother used to sing to her before training days. Tom listened with care. He shared things too. He told her about his brother who was lost in the early days of the war, about how he used to fix toy robots when he was a child, about how he had come to hate the sound of guns one evening. While Tom was fixing a broken radio, Arenya asked, "Do you miss people?" Tom looked at her. "Sometimes, but I didn't want to be around those who only talked about fighting." "Wanted peace? You found peace?" she said. He nodded. Maybe I just ran away from noise." Arenya looked at the tools spread across the table. She slowly reached for a small metal piece. "Can I try?" Tom raised his eyebrows, but handed her a screwdriver. "Let's see what you can do." She worked slowly, her hands shaking a little. But her fingers remembered training. She fixed the wire and tightened the screw. Tom smiled. "Not bad," he said. "Looks like I've got an assistant now." "I was trained in tech support," she said. "Not just weapons." "And you're more useful than most soldiers." That night, as they sat beside the fire, Arenya asked a question that had been in her heart for days. "Do you think I can stay here for some time?" Tom looked into her eyes. "Of course. This is your home too now." Her chest felt warm, and not just from the fire. For the first time since she had arrived, she smiled fully. But deep in the forest, far from the cabin, something moved in the snow. A small black drone, no bigger than a bird, flew quietly between the trees. It scanned the ground, then flew higher. Its lenses turned red for a second. Then it flew away, back to its hidden ship. It had seen the cabin. It had seen the human. And it had seen the virulon, who was supposed to be dead. Back inside, Tom and Arenya had no idea. They shared silence, warm tea, and something deeper, a bond that was beginning to grow strong. Two people from different worlds. Two hearts learning to trust. The forest around Tom's cabin was quiet, but something had changed. Tom didn't feel it at first. He woke up early, made tea, and prepared breakfast like usual. Arenya had healed enough to walk short steps using a wooden stick Tom had made for her. She moved slowly, but her steps were steady. Her face looked better. Her wounds had closed, and her eyes looked brighter now. They sat together at the small table near the window. Snow had melted in some places, and the first signs of spring were showing. "You're healing fast," Tom said with a smile. Arenya nodded. "Virelans have strong bodies. But I think it's not just that. It's this place. The peace. Your kindness." Tom looked down. "You've changed too." Arenya gave a small smile. "Maybe I never had a chance to be myself before." That morning, Tom went out to gather firewood while Arenya rested inside. He walked deeper into the trees, humming a quiet tune. Didn't know that far above, a drone was still watching. It was small, fast, and silent, built by Virelan scouts. It had already returned once to its hidden ship and sent a report. One injured Virelan unit detected. Living with human male, possible traitor, awaiting orders. The Virelan command didn't care about details. They saw only two words: traitor and enemy. The order was clear: eliminate both. A small squad was already on the way. Back at the cabin, Tom noticed strange footprints near the fence. Too large for animals, too fresh to be old. He crouched and touched the snow. "These weren't here yesterday," he whispered. He followed the tracks a little and found something even worse. A broken tree branch with a small burn mark. Not natural. Oh. It looked like a drone had passed through. Tom's chest tightened. He rushed back to the cabin, fast and alert. Inside, Arenya was reading a human book, her eyes scanning the pages slowly. "We have to be careful," Tom said quickly. Locking the door behind him, Arenya looked up. "What happened?" "I found tracks, big ones to clean. Could be a patrol. Or worse." She stood, using the stick. "I saw something from the window earlier. A black shape in the sky. It moved like a scout drone." Tom sighed. "Then we've been found." Arenya's face became serious. "They're not here to talk." "I figured that," Tom said. He checked his tool chest. He had no real weapons, only a hunting knife and a small shock stick. "Not much." Arenya took a breath. "If it's Virelans, they won't care about you. They'll see me with you and call me a traitor." Tom looked at her. "You've saved me too. I won't let them hurt you. You could leave. Run to the human camps." "I'm not running." Arenya stared at him. "You'd stay? Even if it means risking your life?" Tom smiled softly. "You didn't leave me when I could have been your enemy. Now it's my turn." For a moment, Arenya didn't speak. Then she placed her hand on his arm and said, "Then we fight together." Tom gave a short nod, pulled some wire from his toolbox. "Let's make traps. That's what I can do best." They worked quickly. Arenya helped as much as she could, tying wires, placing cans with stones to make noise if stepped on, and hiding sharp tools in the snow. By the time the sun began to set, they had done all they could. Then they waited inside the cabin. They sat with the fire turned low, holding their breath. Arenya looked at the door. They'll come before sunrise. Virelans move best in the dark. Tom tightened his grip. On the shock stick? Then we'll be ready. Around midnight, a soft click came from outside, then another. The cans outside rattled. They had come. Tom moved near the door, heart pounding. Arenya took position near the window. 3 Virelan soldiers stepped out from the trees, wearing black armor. One of them pointed at the cabin. One whispered, "We retrieved the traitor. Kill the human." Arenya heard them. Her face turned cold. "They came to end us both," she whispered. Tom raised the shock stick. "Then they'll be surprised." The soldiers moved toward the door, slow and silent. But as one stepped on the hidden wire, a loud snap echoed, and he fell forward into the snow, shocked by a hidden electric trap. The others jumped back. Arenya opened the window and shouted in her own language, "Leave now!" "I will not go with you." One of them replied, "You betrayed the Virelans. You left our kind." "I was left first," Arenya shouted. "I found life here." Raised their weapons. Tom stepped out with a flare in one hand. He lit it, throwing a blinding red light in their faces.
While they were distracted,
Arenya tossed a smoke ball Tom had built earlier. Smoke filled the area. Shouts came from the trees. In the middle of the confusion, Tom and Arenya worked like a team, dodging, hiding, and pushing back. They weren't trained soldiers, but they were smart and brave. Finally, the last soldier ran into the forest, leaving behind his fallen partners. Silence returned. Arenya dropped to her knees, breathing hard. We did it. Tom helped her stand. For now, they sat again near the fire. Arenya touched her side, bruised but not broken. You stood by me, she said. You're not alone, Tom replied. And in the shadows of war, inside a small cabin in the woods, trust had become stronger than fear. The cold air of early morning filled the cabin as the first rays of sunlight slipped through the windows. Tom was awake before dawn, preparing hot water for tea. The night's fight still echoed in his mind, the close calls, the sudden rush of adrenaline. But now, in the quiet of the morning, he could feel the calm return. Arenya stirred on the bed, her body aching but alive. The smoke from the fire still lingered faintly, but her eyes were clear and steady. She looked at Tom, who was placing a cup of warm tea beside her. Thank you, she said softly. Tom smiled. You're getting stronger. The body heals faster than the mind. Arenya looked out the window at the forest beyond. I've seen fire many times, she said. Not just from weapons, but inside people. War burns them all. Tom nodded. I lost my brother in the war. He was young, full of hope. But the fighting took him. She turned to him, her silver eyes deep with pain. I lost my family too. The war stole everything. For a moment they sat in silence, sharing the weight of loss that neither had to say aloud. Why do you keep fighting? Tom asked quietly. After everything you've lost? Arenya thought carefully. I thought I was fighting for my people, for duty. But now, I want to fight for something else. For peace. For life. Tom reached out and placed his hand gently on hers. Know that feeling. Fighting for something better. Even when it seems impossible. She looked at him with a small smile. You help me see that there is more than war. He nodded. And you help me remember why we must keep hope. The day passed slowly. Tom taught Arenya how to use some tools in the cabin. She was quick to learn. Her hands, though scarred, were steady and sure. In the afternoon, Tom shared stories from his childhood, talked about his favorite stars and the machines he loved to build. Arenya listened, fascinated by this world so different from hers. In return, Arenya told him about her home, a distant planet with purple skies and 2 moons. She described the songs her mother used to sing and the gentle rivers that flowed. Through her village, Tom smiled. I never imagined there was a place so beautiful. There is beauty everywhere, Arenya said, even in broken places. That evening, they sat together by the fire. Arenya's leg was still healing, but she no longer needed the stick to sit up. Do you think we can build a better future? She asked. Tom looked into the flames. I believe we can, but it will take time and courage. Arenya reached for his hand again. Then we will be brave, together. Inside the cabin, the forest was peaceful. For the first time since the war began, 2 souls from opposite worlds found hope in each other's company. The days passed, and the snow began to melt. The air felt warmer, and green leaves started to return to the trees. Life in the forest was slowly waking up again. Inside the cabin, Tom and Arenya were stronger than before. Her wounds had healed, and she could now walk without the wooden stick. She helped Tom fix broken tools, collect clean water from the stream, and even cook simple meals. One morning, Arenya was out near the cabin, collecting dry branches for firewood. The birds were singing softly in the trees. She smiled, enjoying the quiet. For the first time in many months, she felt alive, not as a soldier, but as a person. Then she heard something strange, a soft buzzing sound high in the air. Her smile disappeared. She looked up and saw a black dot moving quickly across the sky. It wasn't a bird, it was a drone. She dropped the branches and ran back to the cabin. Tom, she shouted as she pushed the door open. Tom looked up from the small radio he was repairing. What happened? There's another drone, she said, a small one, flying above the trees. Tom's face grew serious. You're sure? It moved fast, like the last one. It saw me. I'm sure of it. Tom stood up. Then they're coming again. We need to prepare. He grabbed his tool belt, and Arinya quickly helped him. They didn't waste time. They had already faced one attack, and they knew another might be worse. They checked all the traps around the cabin and set up new ones. Tom rewired a few tools to act as alarms. Renya took an old metal pipe and turned it into a defensive rod using energy cells from a broken drone. They worked for hours. By nightfall, they were ready. But nothing came that night, nor the next. On the third day, the silence broke. Just before dawn, a loud noise echoed through the trees, a humming sound, like the engines of a ship. Arenya woke instantly, already dressed and alert. Tom looked out the window and saw lights moving between the trees. They're here, he said. A dark ship shaped like a large beetle landed near the forest edge. This time, it wasn't just a small group. 5 Varellan soldiers stepped out, all in heavy armor. One of them held a glowing staff. He was a commander. Arinya looked through a gap in the window. That's Commander Relter, she whispered. He trained me when I was young. He won't show mercy. Tom tightened his grip on the shock stick. Then we'll stand together. The soldiers moved toward the cabin. They were quiet but fast. The traps worked to soldiers were delayed by wires and sharp metal hidden under the snow. But the others kept coming. Then a loud voice echoed through a small speaker attached to a drone floating near the cabin. Varellan Arenya. The commander said, "You have broken our code. You stayed with the enemy. You are no longer one of us." Tom shouted back. "She's not your prisoner. She has a choice." "You are a human," the voice replied. "You will be erased." Arenya stepped forward. "I am not your tool anymore," she shouted. "You left me to die, but he saved me." "Then you are lost," the commander replied coldly. Suddenly, the attack began. Smoke grenades were thrown through the windows. Arenya and Tom coughed and fell back. The door burst open, and soldiers stepped inside. But Arenya was ready. She swung her metal rod with precision, striking the first soldier's armor and sending him crashing into the wall. Tom used his shock stick to stun another. They moved together, back to back, like a team that had trained for years. A soldier raised a blaster, but Tom pushed a heavy table in the way just in time. Arenya rolled forward and knocked the weapon. From his hand, the commander entered last. He looked at Arenya with cold eyes. "You disappoint me? You taught me how to survive," she said. "Now I will use it to protect what matters." He moved quickly, trying to grab her. But Arenya was faster. She ducked, spun, and struck his side. He staggered, surprised by her strength. Tom fought off another soldier, using his tools like weapons. Sparks flew as metal clashed. Finally, the commander gave a loud signal and the soldiers pulled back. One by one, they exited the cabin and retreated toward the ship. The fight wasn't worth their effort now. The drone hovered again. "This is not the end. You are marked now. Both of you." Then the ship lifted into the sky and vanished. Inside the cabin, Arenya and Tom stood in silence, breathing heavily. Broken wood, fallen chairs, and burnt fabric covered the floor. But they were alive. "We did it," Tom said, between breaths. Arenya nodded. "They won't stop. Not now." "I know, but we'll be ready." She looked at him. I'm not going back. No matter what they say, this is my home now." Tom placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we'll protect it. Together." Though danger still waited in the shadows. One thing was clear. The bond between a human and a Varellan had become stronger than fear, stronger than war. The days after the attack passed in silence. The forest seemed calm again, but Tom and Arenya both knew it was only on the outside. Inside their hearts, something had changed. They were no longer just survivors. They had fought together and won. Tom worked to fix the damage in the cabin. He replaced the broken door, cleaned up the shattered glass, and repaired the furniture. As best he could, Arenya helped him, her hands steady and her steps firm. Though her wounds were healed, a new strength now lived in her eyes. She was not the same soldier who had been left to die weeks ago. She was more than that, more human. In spirit than many real humans Tom had met in his life. One morning, as the sun rose behind the trees, Arenya stepped outside. She breathed in the cool forest air. Birds sang in the distance. The ground was soft with fresh grass. She looked up at the sky, her silver eyes calm. Tom joined her, holding 2 cups of tea. "Seem far away," he said. She took the cup and smiled softly. "Just thinking." "About what, my people?" she said. "They will come again, maybe not soon, but one day. When they do, they'll bring more soldiers, bigger ships." Tom nodded. "You're right. But we'll face them like we did before." Arenya looked at him, serious now. "Tom, I don't want you to suffer because of me. You had a peaceful life before I came here." He shook his head. "Quiet life, maybe, but not a full one. You gave it meaning." She didn't speak for a while. Then she whispered, "I used to believe that home was only a place, my planet, my people. But now, I know that home is not made of land. It's made of trust, of care." Tom smiled. "Then you found your home." Later that day, Arenya brought out an old data core she had kept hidden in her pack. It still worked. She connected it to Tom's scanner and showed him maps of old Virulon hideouts deep in the mountains. "We could move there," she said. "Hide, build something new, somewhere they won't find us easily." Tom studied the screen. "It's far, but possible. It'll take time to reach." "We'll go together," Arenya said. That night, they packed supplies, food, tools, healing kits, and maps. Tom brought a solar charger, some seeds and books. Arenya took her staff, the repaired drone, and the old training badge from her armor, not as a symbol of war, but a memory of how far she had come. Before they left the cabin, Tom stood at the door and looked around. This place kept us safe. Arenya nodded, "But it's time to start again." They walked through the forest, side by side. The journey ahead was long, but they were not afraid. They had faced fear before. Together, as they moved deeper into the wild, Tom taught Arenya how to read the stars. She taught him how to listen to the ground, to hear if anything large moved nearby. They shared stories, laughed over small things, watched the sky at night. On the 6th day, they reached a narrow mountain path. At the top was a wide valley surrounded by cliffs. There, hidden under stone and moss, was an old Virulon bunker. The entrance was hard to open, but they managed. Inside, it was dark and dusty, but the walls were strong and the air was dry. With a little work, it could be turned into a home. Over the next weeks, they cleaned it, repaired the lights, and planted seeds outside the valley. Arenya created a small energy shield to hide the entrance. Tom used parts from the broken drone to build a signal blocker. Slowly, the place became more than a shelter, it became theirs. They added shelves, warm lights, and even painted symbols on the walls, half human, half Virulon. It was a new language, a new beginning. One evening, as they sat on the stone steps watching the sun go down, Tom turned to her. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked. Arenya shook her head. "Not once," he smiled. "Me neither." She looked at him with gentle eyes. "You saved me once, Tom, but you did more than that. You gave me life again. You gave me something too," he said. "You reminded me what it means to care." In the quiet valley, 2 people from different worlds found peace. No flags, no war, just hope. And though the stars above still held danger and the future remained unknown, one truth was clear. Home is not a place. It's the heart that chooses to stay.